Hello and welcome to a new episode of That Fertile Feeling, the podcast. My name is Françoise and I'm here today with Juan, who, if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you may know already. Juan is, can I say you're our in-house astrologer?
Yeah,
We've been on the podcast before to do the astrology for 2024. We talked about astrology for fertility more generally. So I thought it would be great to start the year off with another episode on the astrology for fertility in 2025. So welcome, Juan.
thank
How
you,
are
thank
you?
you. Very good, very good. Happy to be here.
So for the listeners who don't know you yet, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, I've been working with astrology, a big love for me since I'm 15, and in a way to try to read these influences that affect us. The most common one we know, of course, is the moon, but all these other planets have an impact, and offering some guidance to everybody from your soul. Like the soul has these messages and they are written in these stars and constellations and planets. So the intention has always been to help people to get to know themselves from the astrological perspective. And in that, of course, we come to this uh, idea of seeing the times and the movements of the planets affecting this very unique idea of motherhood.
Because that's maybe a good thing to mention at the start. It's not that astrology will predict whether you get pregnant or
Yeah,
not.
astrology will only uh, make inclinations, make things a little bit more easy, or represent energies that are need to be acknowledged in order to have a process. Let's say, for example, the most simple example now is that Pluto is in Aquarius, and the Plutonian energy invites transformation, invites change, invites going through maybe hell or difficult things to learn more about the essence and to learn more about who you are. And this energy represents harmony in a way, but you have to go through that. If you avoid that, then the energy causes difficulties because it's not being respected or honored,
Hmm.
you know.
Yeah, that feels very aligned to the podcast in general. I just recorded an episode or published it last week about my main lessons or the main lessons from the podcast in 2024. And I said, well, if I look at all the conversations, what's coming up is that we as a society are out of balance, that puts a lot of stress on our systems and on our fertility, and that the fertility journey is actually an invitation to find your way back to balance. And I feel that really aligns with that Pluto in Aquarius energy. It's about
Mm.
having this journey transform you in ways that are so much bigger than just, I'm saying just in air quotes here, it's so much bigger. It's not only your fertility, it's about transforming your entire life. It's about how you will approach motherhood. Um,
Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely.
But like you mentioned, you have to go through the darkness. It's not an easy journey.
Yeah, and that life is strongly connected to death. And the moment you understand, you will also value more life and be grateful for everything you have and everything you wish to manifest.
Yeah. And that's where I feel astrology gives us some really beautiful tools because it can show you, as you mentioned, right? What are some of these processes that are going on and what can you work with on that journey in that transformation?
Exactly. Like in general, the transformation, the invitation from 2025 is an invitation for growth, is an invitation for expansion. And yes, there is strong aspects that suggest that fertility and babies will be more present. So it is a lucky year in that sense, especially after the first half,
Mm.
because many planets move into new signs that are more active or more prone to these movements.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that, those planetary transits?
So, the biggest one, which of course affects especially Cancers and Sagittarius, is Jupiter moving into Cancer on June, and this planet uh, is on what we call in astrology the exaltation, so it's the strongest sign for Jupiter. So it's very nurturing for the energy of becoming a mother, and the energy of connecting with souls that will wish to incarnate and wish to join your family. It will also, it's a very strong symbol for increasing the family numbers, you would say. So that's a very positive for all, especially, of course, for the cancers, but also for the other water signs. But in general, this aspect has the power to impact all signs.
Mm. Because
As a very,
Jupiter, that's really the
yes,
planet of growth, of abundance,
and luck, and
luck.
and an invitation to invite the divine energies and the mystery into your life, and allow yourself to flow and to have faith. Jupiter also represents to have faith in you, in your body, in what will come, and that is, there is some rest in that.
Mm.
The other aspects that are important to mention is Chiron is present in Aries. So Chiron is going to invite especially processes of healing. The wheel of the Aries is and really going through questioning themselves. Uh, what do I want, or what does it mean for me to become a mother? And what is the lineage between my ancestors and the child that wishes to come? And how can I heal things there so the new baby has a opportunity to have a healthier inheritance in a way?
Mm. And is that
And
for all signs again?
that is in particular for the fire signs,
Yeah.
but of course it's a theme on the idea of the will, because Aries represents the willpower, and most of the mothers that desire or wish to become one, it comes from a wish, it comes from a desire. And the question, and here is where it comes, the healing is like, if you are wounded, if you're hurt, if it has been difficult journey, if you've been trying for a few years, take rest, take a pause, take a break, feel your wounds, lick your wounds, and take a distance so you can have a new perspective, and a new direction might come if you allow the time for it to manifest.
And is that an energy that's present for the entire year or in a specific month?
Yeah, that energy spreads for the whole year. In particular, yeah, it's a whole year. Chiron is a very slow planet.
Mm-hmm.
I think um, the question there is like, if you really wish to become a mother, uh, to really question yourself why and how important it is, and is your partner and is everybody around you supportive? And if that's the case, how are you going to react when things are difficult?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's when we get to know, we get to see our wounds.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned that this was particularly important for the fire signs.
Yes, for the fire signs are always a bit like impatient, and they want to go just ahead and do things. But here is an opportunity for also think about, hey, you also are vulnerable. You also need time, and you also need uh, the ability to heal, especially if it has been a long journey.
Mm. And which are the fire signs again, just to remind the
Aries, Leo,
listeners?
and Sagittarius.
Okay. So I'm a Sagittarius, so that's good to know. I'm going to be licking my wounds this year.
Yeah, I mean, the main thing that I see sometimes is that some women really want it, but they lose sight of their own self, or they lose sight of their own emotions, and that they have to go through processes instead of
Mm-hmm.
just keep trying and keep trying and keep trying, which also becomes taxing and exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
And fire signs have this tendency just to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
So the invitation, I would say, is like, it's the year of the snake. So the invitation is to be flexible. The
Mm-hmm.
invitation is to be wise and use your snake eyes to see, oh, this is a good opportunity, or now I just wait. And of course, the symbol that it comes to mind immediately is the connection to the Kundalini, the connection to your life force itself.
Mm-hmm.
Your life force needs to be strong to create a new life.
Mm-hmm.
That's why rest becomes important.
It's about taking yourself seriously on the journey.
Exactly. And that is a journey that once it starts, it's not gonna end, because you have this new life in your home, and it's gonna be years of maybe sleepless nights or cryings, or like, to really acknowledge that it's a huge change, a beautiful, magnificent, unique change. And that it's important to know that sometimes you might need help, that sometimes you might need time, and sometimes you might just need sleep. So
Yeah.
to be very much in contact of whatever it feels hurt or painful,
Hmm.
and to allow yourself to take time.
Hmm.
Then the other aspect that moves, it's Uranus moving into Gemini. So good aspects for the Geminis to become parents, especially the ones that are receiving help from science, because Uranus represents science and represents the ability to overcome challenges and difficulties, especially with new ideas. So a message for all the air signs is take leaps, discover, try new things, even uh, like if it sounds different, if it's a bit eccentric or if it's a bit magical, it has a bigger impact than if it's just using science. Like, I believe Uranus is going to ask of us to integrate as much as possible who we are
Hmm.
in a spiritual, psychological, and scientific, biological way.
And which are the air signs again?
Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius.
Okay. So embrace technology and take leaps into the magical realm as well.
Yeah, like don't close yourself to one vision.
Hmm.
Open, 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 open. Ask questions. Go to these rumors. Like, really explore. Make it a journey that the end is the journey and not itself the goal.
Hmm.
It will offer a much more relaxed way. And as I say, flexibility and the connection remains. Um, the other aspects that it changes is Saturn moving into Aries, at least temporarily. Saturn has this ability to go back a little bit, but in the end, it's already moving to Aries. So it's about the will and how we can refine our will on what we want. And how do we want to manifest? And this has a lot to do with writing your wishes, expressing them, talking about your partner, and really um, refining the why, or refining why is this so important to me, and connecting with that. That will bring an extra energy to carry on and do it.
Sounds a little bit the same as Chiron's influence, right? Or not? Is it a different wheel?
The different will is that they're both on the same sign. They both
Ah, yeah.
refer to the willpower. The
Yeah.
difference between Chiron and Saturn is Chiron asks you to look at your pain, to look
Hmm.
at your will, and to even to understand with wisdom
Hmm.
that challenges and some things need to be carried out. Saturn, on the other hand, is more about this very serious, you would say, policeman or inspector that is asking you, okay, but why do you want this? And to really answer, okay, why? And ideally is to find something more than just a wish, finding maybe a calling, finding something that it resonates on you, that is not just, let's say, because your partner really wants it, or just
Hmm.
because your family expected it.
Hmm.
Like, it needs to come from within. And that is what Saturn is going to constantly ask. Like, is your wish pure and is your
Hmm.
wish honest? Then it's perfect. But if not, you really need to be honest with yourself and say, maybe in the future, maybe I'm not ready now. And
Hmm.
that's absolutely fine.
That is really deep. I'm just thinking back to my own journey to be able to look at that and be really honest.
Mhm.
Is it also a time, because I can also imagine there would be certain blockages standing between you and that, like, the deep
Yeah,
calling.
exactly. Without blockages, without pain, without the struggle, we never question all of this.
So is it also an invitation to look at any blockages to see if there's anything that's standing between you and a deep?
Absolutely. And not to try to smash the blockages, but rather look at them
Mm-hmm,
and see what they come to you and what they represent to you. Because for some, if we are creators of our own reality, you are
mm-hmm,
manifesting these blockages as well.
mm-hmm.
And they're showing you something that maybe you don't want to see. The energy here is that once that is clear, the path is quite open and the path is quite inclined to nurture that wish. But of course, it requires discipline and of course, it requires persistence.
Yeah. Is
And
this
that,
also an influence that'll be around the entire year?
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And a little bit of 2026 as well.
Okay.
So, yeah, like just ask yourself why, how, and if I will knew for sure that I will be a mother, when will be the right time for me and what nest I would like to build and manifest
Mm-hmm.
before that. And to really connect with your body, to really connect with your intuition and say, yeah, this feels right now, and this feels that I should postpone or maybe not. Who knows?
Yeah.
Like to really ask the hard questions. That is what Saturn will always ask.
Mm-hmm.
Make the hard questions, make the difficult decisions, and be true to your essence
Mm-hmm.
and use time in your advantage. Hurrying things up is not going to work. Moving to another aspects that are important. Mars and Venus, of course. Mars connect with the wish for life and the desires and passion, of course. That is sometimes important for this. And Mars during 2025 is just going to be between Leo and Capricorn. So it's going to be visiting this, let's say, half the zodiac.
Mm-hmm.
So then it's, if you got to choose between one month and the other, my invitation will be have a look at where Mars is and pick a month that is more harmonic with your solar sign. So let's say if you are a Taurus, pick
Mm-hmm.
the month that is going to be in Capricorn or pick the month that is going to be in Virgo.
And
You can have,
how do you know
this
which
is very
months?
easy to find, that you can
Yeah.
find online like positions of Mars and you know your sign.
Yeah.
Of course, it's more rich if you have the natal map, but otherwise anybody can do it. And then, oh, this month is going to happen in this sign, and this sign is harmonic with mine,
Yeah.
and that makes it extra beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the also the concept of Venus. Venus is almost making a full round through all the zodiac during the year, like from Aries to Capricorn. So only two signs are for 2026. And Venus brings the reminder of love, brings, of course, life, and the moments that Venus hits Cancer and hits Leo, which is also a sign for fertility and parenthood, are fantastic times. In general, it's all after the first half.
Mm-hmm.
After the first half is much easier than the first half. It's not impossible, but from
Yeah.
a, let's put it like it's easier to plant things to grow in a sunshine than if it's the winter, put it
Mm-hmm.
simple.
So
Important
you can
aspect.
really use those first months to reflect on your wounds, on your, on
Yeah,
the
exactly. To go through
resonance of you.
the
Yeah. The
preparation of the
blockages.
land, so
Mm-hmm.
to say.
Yeah.
Just there is something that we were just discussing, the Mercury retrogrades.
Mm-hmm.
That is these movements of this planet of communication and movement and appointments. So just to keep in mind that these periods, I'm going to give you the periods, make an extra effort. So you can still succeed on these periods, but you need to be prepared for inconveniences, for appointments not coming, for the car not starting, for somebody missing your paperwork, like all these tiny things that just, if you are on edge, they can become too much. But if you just see them as just this extra energy that needs to be invested, it's okay. And in 2025, the period is from the 14th of March till the 6th of April. Then the second period is 17th of July till the 10th of August. And the last period is the 9th of November till the 29th of November. They're not too long, but they can be, especially for Virgos and Geminis, they can be very strong into these periods of difficulties and having the opportunity to move. So if you plan an appointment in this time, don't worry if it got canceled. Don't worry if you got delayed and then you have to postpone. It's just part of the energy moving. Venus and Mars also have a small retrograde movement. Venus is from in the month of March till half of April. And this is particularly for Taurus and Libras. Like they might feel a little bit going backwards, to put it simply. And Mars is only going to be retrograde at the beginning of the year. So that's what I mean. Also, after the second half is quite easy. It's a year of shifts. It's a year of growth. It's a year to be flexible, to embrace the dance, to move, to enjoy, to really connect with your body. Like, even if it's being an IVF or something with science, have the love touch, have connection, because this is all something that life and souls also feel. Have perseverance and don't take things so seriously. Like things, if you believe in them, they are gonna move. And again, most of the fertility suggestions from the moon aspects are new moons. New moons are very easy to find in almost any app or calendar. They're very good for starters, but also the full moons are strong energy. So some people that have a low energy, they can maybe get an advantage of the full moons to strengthen themselves. Of course, it comes in evidence their moon is stronger. So let's say if you have a moon in Aries, the full moon in Aries, it's super beneficial in a way.
And what would you suggest someone do during that full moon? Is it to do a ritual, or is it just a good time for conception, or how do you work with the full moon?
It's a great time for conception. It's a great time to connect with your biorhythms. Like, I think the biggest message from the moons to the period of the fertility cycles of the feminine is that you can be in tune with nature. You can be in tune with the tides, and to remember that, of course, there is ups and downs, and there is different energies manifesting depending on the sign. The full moon is a peak. The new moon is an extraordinary time to start to conceive, to really invite the mystery, and then to say, hey, I want this. I want this for my life.
Just to follow up, are these new moons and full moons also a good time to work with some of those other things you discussed earlier? So would this be a time to then reflect on your wounds or on blockages, or?
I mean, naturally, the new moon brings you inside. And naturally, the full moon brings you into dance, into movement. So it's kind of what you feel in your heart, because we could generalize and say that full moons are active and it's time to get into action, or new moons are time to go in and really reflect. But that is different for everybody. So I will say, how do you feel? If you feel like going in a half moon or in a new moon or in a full moon, that's perfect. It doesn't have to be one way or the other.
Yeah.
And take into account your rhythms, take into account your own movements. And yes, maybe you will be facing your wounds for the first few months before you can go into, or maybe you will face them during the pregnancy. Like there is so much that can happen and can move. But it's important to keep into perspective that things will pass, things will move into a new energy. The difference is how much consciousness you can put into each part and each period.
Yeah. I'm thinking now, what that would look like for me. So, with what you're saying, it's all about not taking things too personally in a sense,
Yeah,
but seeing them as, yeah, energies. That's the best word. That there's something outside of you that's driving some of these challenges, and that it's an invitation to look at them rather than create a story, like an identity out of them. Does that make sense?
exactly. And we
Yeah.
can make too much out of them when the biggest question behind it was, why do you want this? And do you really want it now, or do you want to rest and recover and do it later?
Mm,
And then that takes us immediately to the eclipses. Eclipses
mm-hmm,
are not really good periods to try conception because they combine two strong energies, and babies at the beginning have a very weak manifestation. So it's okay, maybe a month or a month and a half before the eclipse or after, but in that week, I
mm-hmm,
will avoid it. I will suggest it because unless you are a person that enjoys very intense energies, and that will be another ballgame. There is two lunar eclipses and
yeah.
two solar eclipses in 2025. The first lunar eclipse is in the 14th of March,
Yeah.
and the second lunar eclipse is on 7th of September. The first solar eclipse is on the 29th of March, and the second solar eclipse is on the 21st of September. So they're also close together.
Mm-hmm,
These periods in between eclipses, like
mm-hmm,
during September or during the last 2 weeks of March, are very tricky,
mm-hmm,
to say the least, because it's like an extra cosmic energy moving. And that sometimes, because life is so vulnerable, it can create difficulties.
mm-hmm.
So that is maybe the period that I will say just beware or keep an eye on. And of course, Mercury retrograde, but Mercury retrograde will not per se be a problem. It's just that it makes things just more challenging. I don't know if you have other questions or areas that you
Yeah.
would like me to point.
No, I was thinking about the earth signs because they're really associated with, groundedness, physicality, physical health. So are there any
Yeah.
key transits in Taurus and Virgo or Capricorn that might support fertility?
For the earth signs, um, the main concept is going to be Mars and Venus.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the ones that are going to be activating the energy there. Um, for the bull is happy after July because Uranus is not an energy that Taurus like because
Mm-hmm.
it's too shaky, too change, too much movement. And in that, all earth signs will be back more into a more calm level of energy. Um, in in retrospective, it is important that you at least have a look at the three pillars in your map.
Mm-hmm.
You can look at where is your sun, where is your moon, and where is your rising. This gives you a little overview or feeling like, oh, I feel very strongly with this sign or with these two.
Mm-hmm.
Then those energies are accessible to you. Or it might be that all the three are part of one element, and then
Mm-hmm.
using that as a tool, okay, the three elements are something nurturing for me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's also a little bit about knowing you don't need a professional astrologer for this. You can just find out your chart and read the very basic and know, oh, I have these three signs that are very essential. And then that also goes for the earth signs and all the other signs. Like it's not only earth. Most of the time there is two other elements And then also the map of the partner, because
Mm.
these energies continue to move in two, and they are a flow from both energies.
Yeah.
And it's not a race. Like some people might have it easier, some people might have it more difficult. The thing is, in general, because of Jupiter in Cancer, because it's a year of snake, which is a symbol of fertility,
Mhm.
it's a very good year in general.
Mhm.
Like so, but it involves these aspects of have faith, believe in yourself. If there is some challenges, just take them as a lesson to look into yourself. But it's
Mhm.
not that they're failing because you did something wrong. It's just part of this little journey.
Yeah, that sounds like the key takeaways from what I hear you saying. It's a good year, especially after June. Take the
Yeah.
time to slow down, to take a break if you need it. Look at challenges, like really sit with them and see what it is. What are the wounds that are being touched? What are the
And
blockages?
the whys, like why do you want to become a mother?
Why do you want to become a mother?
If it comes from your heart, if it comes from you,
Yeah,
it's also okay if it comes from someone else, but just acknowledge that it will be a bit harder to process that.
yeah,
Like because the signs are inclined to ask you if this is your wish. If this is
yeah,
your wish, fantastic. But if it's not, it's gonna face challenges or resistance, to
yeah.
put it simply.
And if you've always been doing things a certain way, allow for change, allow yourself to experiment
Absolutely. And allow yourself
differently.
to breathe, to stop, to say no,
Mm-hmm.
and to really find your boundaries again, and to really find your connection with your body, because your body has a magnificent wisdom, and you can learn from that, especially the feminine, which there has the cycles as a fantastic tool.
Mm-hmm.
This whole process of death and rebirth, basically,
Yeah,
it's such a rich wisdom source.
definitely. So it sounds like an exciting year,
Yeah, I wish
fertility
all of
wise.
you a lot of success.
And if someone could use some additional help with the astrology, if they need more guidance, can they work with you also?
Yeah, of course, I will be happy to add the fertility, and then the tips you can easily get from an astrology map is, first you're gonna get a look into you. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the basic things. And second, you can get what are the strong points for your fertility and what are the weak points, or what energies or months are way more beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
And then there is something that is it's not so common to do, but if somebody really think it needs an extra push,
Mm-hmm.
there is something called the solar revolution, which happens every birthday.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can do a little play with that. So say, okay, I really want to be fertile the next year, so I
Mm-hmm.
can move or travel a few days before my birthday to another country.
Okay,
And
yeah.
that energy nurtures that aspect for the next year. But that is just in very extreme cases.
I have heard that. I've had a podcast guest before who actually traveled to the caves in Turkey, like
Yeah.
Turkish caves where she spent the night on her birthday
Yeah.
um, to improve her fertility. Yeah. Um, she did get
That's
pregnant.
probably a double deal, like one using the astrology and also using the power of these ancient caves.
Yeah.
Like that has been a symbol. This ancient traditional energy is very strong in the earth. So it's also a very old symbol for fertility and connection.
Mm-hmm.
That is an extra help you can get almost in any country that has these traditions. These
Yeah.
very
It's interesting that you're bringing it up because I see my own work. I'm being pulled more and more into connecting to our roots, not just as women who are trying to conceive, but as women or as a society in general. It feels like that's the next step we need to take to really take back our power, is to find our way back to our lineages, to our ancestral traditions and roots and uh, and that we're looking for that belonging again.
Yeah, and I think that one of the biggest strengths of the feminine is the community. So if you have your girlfriends, if you have a group of sisters, this also makes everything stronger.
Mm-hmm.
Makes you like it creates a net that can help you feel empowered. And feeling
Yeah,
empowered is a very important aspect of becoming a mother.
and sinking into that feminine together. Yeah. Really.
Absolutely.
Where can listeners find you, or where can they find out more about you and your work?
I have my website, which is www.akashastrology.com. And yes, of course, if anybody is interested, you are welcome to give them my contact, and
Perfect.
I'm happy to offer some assistance.
Great. I'll put it in the show notes.
Mm.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show again. I think third
Yeah,
time.
my pleasure, and I'm very happy that I can bring good news. Like
Yeah.
it's refreshing because there's nothing I can do. I can only read what is going to happen,
Yeah.
and these movements are yeah quite beautiful.
Yeah. That's a good way to start off the year. It's a positive outlook.
Yeah.
Yeah. And thanks also to the listeners for tuning in this week. If you want to reach out to me, you can find me on Instagram at thatfertilefeeling or email me at francoise@thatfertilefeeling.com. I always love to hear from you, and I hope to see you back in 2 weeks. Bye bye.